Okay, welcome back today, day 11, which officially marks us starting to make a U-turn and turning back towards where we started. We have gone out on a little adventure and we made it out to the edges. And now we're going to start making our way back to where we started. But there's a big difference is that now on the return, we get to see where we have been. And when we get back to where we started, the person that returns back to the beginning will not be the same person that left. That person that started on day one no longer exists. It's a new version. And this is exciting to me and hopefully not scary to anybody participating here. And to kick off today, day 11, I thought I would share a story that was coming up for me that has to do with a picture that I posted on Instagram before, but I thought I would share it. This is me. Let's see if you can see it. I'm on a pommel horse, failing miserably at, let's see if you can see it. There we go. That's me on a pommel horse, failing miserably at the Spanish National Championships in 1996. And I'm failing on the pommel horse where my heroes, my Olympic heroes, had competed only a few years before me. And what led to that moment was a few months before the national championships. I think it was 8 months before. I told my coaches that I was done with gymnastics. I was quitting. This was not for me. I was tired. It wasn't serving me the way that it used to serve me. It wasn't as fun as it used to be. Everything feels heavy. It's already hurting. And I'm not into it anymore. July comes around and we go on vacation. Family vacation. We used to go to Sweden. I grew up in Spain and we used to go to Sweden for vacation. We go to Sweden for vacation. And as I'm on vacation, two things are happening. One, I am feeling the urge to practice some tumbling in the yard on the grass. And the other thing that was happening in 1996 was the Olympics that were taking place in Atlanta. And I would stay up very late to watch the Olympics. And something very special happened that year, which was that gymnastics was dead center of the news when it came to the U.S. specifically performing. And a woman by the name of Carrie Strug, who you may recall, she was the one that stuck the landing and broke her ankle. And then that score put them over the edge and the whole team won the gold. Anyways, that moment was a big moment for gymnastics. And it was a big moment for me because that's when it hit me that I wanted to stick the landing like Carrie Strug did, and I still had more left in the tank. So I decided that when we got back from vacation, I was going to try to go back to gymnastics and not only go back, but compete in the Spanish national championships that were happening 6 weeks later. I come back to Spain and I go and talk to my coach and I say, Coach, I want to come back to gymnastics. Will you have me? And he said, yes. And I said, I have another goal, which is I want to go to the national championships. And he said, well, you're already qualified, but you're going to embarrass yourself. You're not ready. You haven't been training for almost 6 months. It's practically impossible for you to make it. So I said, well, I want to give it a shot. And if I'm going to be completely embarrassed at the meet, well, then that's my problem. So I trained and I got to compete. And my first event was parallel bars. Sorry, what was it? Yeah, it was parallel bars. And I got on the parallel bars and I failed miserably. And then I went on the high bar. I also failed miserably. Then I went on floor, my best event, and I went out of bounds a couple times and was just stumbling through my routine. I got to pommel horse and I probably fell 8 times. And that's the picture that you just saw. I got to the rings, barely made it through. I didn't have a very good routine. And then finally, I got to vault. And by the time I got to vault, I was completely defeated. I was done. And I really didn't care much for anything. And I felt like this was over. And my coach was right. I was an embarrassment to myself and to my practice. And in that moment, my brother, who was in the stands, he came down to the railing and he said, hey, come on over here. Just do me one favor, stick the landing. And I was like, okay, that's very hard to do, but whatever. I'm here and I can at least try. And as I was standing there waiting for my turn to go, I realized that I had an option. I'd already been failing miserably. And if I were to be successful at doing what my brother had recommended, which was stick the landing, I could achieve that if I did the easiest, lowest scoring vault of all time, which is a front handspring on this vault table. And that's what I did. I did a front handspring, which is a very simple vault. It's something that you use as a drill. And I happened to stick the landing. 30 minutes later, I was standing on the podium with a silver medal and my first national medal that I had ever received. And this was at the worst meet of all time. And I share this with you because that day, the person who thought that winning, achieving, being the best had to express themselves in the most complex way, that person died and went away. And that person had 5 routines leading up to that 6th one that were one failure after the next. And that failure, what it did was it cracked me at that time, my old self, open and said, fuck it. Who cares? Just go for it and do that which you know you can do, but do it in a way where you are allowing yourself to meet a standard that you know you're capable of. And notice what happens when you do that. And that is something that has carried with me over the years. And I thought I would start today with that because, one, we are about to start the Olympics this Friday. I'm excited. I love the Olympics. And it's always inspiring. And I also wanted to share this because although we've all been pretty consistent here, I know we are meeting some resistance. And there may be a little urge to quit. But know that quitting is simply choosing not to do one thing and choosing to do another. I quit thinking that I had to do this higher level vault to be somebody. And I chose to do this other level vault. That level vault that I chose served me. Quitting is saying no to one thing and saying yes to another. Notice what you're saying no to and notice what you're saying yes to. Quitting is also giving up. And giving up is something that when you think about the words give up feels good. Anytime you gift something, you offer something, you serve someone, even though you're giving your time, you're giving something that you worked on, you're taking a piece of you, a part of you, and giving it away, you feel more complete, more full, more fulfilled. And giving up is gifting up to a higher level of awareness, a higher level of self, a higher level of expression. So as you're meeting this resistance and you're having the urge to maybe say, I don't want to do this right now, notice what you are choosing to do. And if you can see that as a gift to a higher expression of yourself, then you're making the right choice. And then finally, with quitting and giving up comes surrender. And surrender is not just laying back and saying, I'm dead, it's over, take me. Surrender is letting go of all that which does not serve you, all that which feels like baggage and weight. It's allowing the current, the flow of life to take you where it has to take you. And to realize that within that flow, you can move around. There's space. So as we're exploring our return back to where we started, realize that which you have quit. Notice where you are giving up, and how you are letting go of the baggage that no longer serves you so that you can move with more ease. And our destination, we don't know what it is, but it's going to feel right when we get there because we chose it and we were aware of how we chose it. And today, in the week of experimentation, we have been experimenting with noticing what our needs are. We started with the physiological, we went into the physical, we went into the relational, and today we're going into our craft, our expression, that which some people define us by, that which we have spent time mastering, polishing, pursuing, not because we had to, but because we chose to. And our craft is our vehicle. It's the package. It's the code. And in this package lies the information that informs the world and ourselves as to who we are, what we're doing, who we're doing it for, what they need, and thus what we need, and the ability to produce a positive change. In other words, it is our way of participating in our evolution. So today we're going to lean into our craft. And the word craft, in Swedish kraft, means strength. But it also means skill. Strength and skill. What is strength? When I think about strength, I think about our capacity to move, our capacity to do. What does this mean? Well, if you think about something purely physical like squatting a barbell, how strong do you need to be to squat 100 kilos? Strong enough. How strong do you need to be to run a marathon? I don't know how to measure it. Strong enough. How strong do I need to be to do a handstand? I don't know how strong I need to be. I just know that I have to be strong enough. Strength is our capacity to move. And when we think about our capacity to move, we can think about our capacity as a progression. And when we think about our strength as a capacity to move and as a progression, the progression that we go through follows the following framework: simple, complex, simple. Movement, the development of strength, the development of our capacity starts very simple. I do simple actions. I do simple things. And then those blossom into a complex pattern. an array of options, branches. And over time, what ends up happening is that the more we polish, the more we choose to progress through that capacity to move, that strength, we return to where we started, and now we express ourselves in an even more simple fashion than before. The difference is that if we start simple over here and we begin the progression and we end up at a more complex side over here, as we return back to the simple expression again, we are now in the same place where we started, but we are higher up. We have just elevated ourselves. We are working our way up that spiral staircase. Mel says, sounds like sacred geometry, fractal patterns. Yeah, this is why, I mean, a fractal pattern is the one that when you zoom out on it, it repeats itself over and over and over again. And it's a way of visualizing the um, the underlying structure of something. And this is something that mathematics is studied. We can all look it up later on. You can look up fractal patterns and see a GIF that keeps on projecting itself up, 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 and it keeps on repeating itself. It's kind of like it's unfolding and enfolding all at once. So that's strength, our capacity to move. And craft is also our skill. And what is skill? Well, a skill is the ability to apply our strength. In other words, our ability to apply our capacity to move. Knowledge is only as powerful as our ability to apply it to a context, to a moment. And that application in context is what gives us understanding. Think about the difference between knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is vast, complex. Understanding is simple. Simple information leads to complex knowledge. Complex knowledge in context leads to simple understanding. That's the progression. Our ability to return to the simplicity that lies in understanding because we have applied that which we have worked on, our capacity to a certain context, that right there is skill. When it comes to movement specifically, I talk about shifting, connecting, and flowing. If I'm walking, I have to shift my center of mass in relationship to my base support. If I want to change the course of my life, I need to shift my mindset. In order to be able to move when I'm walking, I can't only shift my center of mass in relationship to my base support. I also need to change my foot position. I need to change the connection. I have to lift my foot and then connect it at a different point. In life, when I'm progressing through life, what do I have to do? I have to let go of one thing, hold on to the next, or continue to carry the relationship that I had with one thing, but continue to connect with another. It depends on where we're going. Are we going to a more complex state or a more simple state? Do I have more friends right now or less friends? It's okay to flow in and out. Friendship variability is a thing. The same way heart rate variability, emotional variability, life is varied. Notice it. And it comes with connections, changes in connection. And then finally, when we learn to move from one position to the next, from one mindset to another, to move from one emotion to another, we begin to experience fluidity. Things start to feel effortless. And this is the art of effortless effort. That's the state of flow. And that doesn't exist every day, all the time. But it's something that when we notice, we can work with. And when we don't have it, although sometimes we may be missing it, to know that it is coming. We don't have to go out and chase it. We don't have to go out and seek it. It doesn't have to be this complex, complicated, extravagant way or expression of ourselves. When we are able to notice that which is our capacity to do, our capacity to think, our capacity to feel, our capacity to be, and the expression of that, the application of that, the skill through our craft, that's when we start to really crack things open and life starts to become very interesting. And what's cool about this, and this stems from a conversation that I had with Sarah actually yesterday, which is this notion that things have already been done before, so why put effort into it? I should be doing something else. I should be unique in a certain way. When in reality, it's our own uniqueness that is the transformative energy that something that already exists needs, such as our species needs our unique expression to be able to evolve. If you're a yoga practitioner, your unique understanding and expression of yoga needs your participation. As a writer, your unique expression of ideas through words printed on paper need to be there in order to evolve that subject, that craft. In addition, our craft is our capsule, our vehicle for expression in this world. So one of the things that we're going to do today is we're going to celebrate that through our practice. And the way that we're going to do that is by doing what we've been doing every day of this week, which is on the Valence-Arousal Model, mark your spot, describe, become granular, get your Bolt score, know where you're standing there, address your sleep the same way we've been doing it, and then getting into the work. And the first prompt for today's journaling is to name 1 to 3, between 1 and 3 different subjects that you have dedicated a significant amount of time to developing. For me, as a kid, it was gymnastics. Later on, it was CrossFit. And somewhere along the way, it's been coaching. Identify 1 to 3 of those. The second prompt is I want you to describe what you believe to be the most original, fundamental intention behind the subject that you've studied, behind the practice that you've chosen. In other words, why dance? Why yoga? Why CrossFit? Why fitness? Why writing? Why art? Why photography? Why? What is the human nature behind the expression in that form? Try not to use references. Use your own. I want us to become self-referencing. Number 3, what attracted you to the practice or the subject in the first place? And I can share an example that I experienced as a kid, which was I didn't choose gymnastics. My mother did. She said, your dad did gymnastics. There's a gymnastics program at school. You're going to gymnastics. I went to gymnastics with my older brother and my younger brother, but I was the only one that stuck with it. What kept me coming back? Well, for me, it was that I felt empowered practicing and knowing that there was a progression that I could follow. and that I could test my skills to see if they were true. It was very objective. And objectivity for someone like me who was very sensitive was really important because it grounded my subjectivity. That's what kept me coming back. What kept you coming back to the subject that you have spent a significant time developing? And then finally, I want you to address, name, describe 3 transferable lessons that that subject that you have spent time developing has given you, has taught you. 3 transferable lessons. And that, my friends, is day 11. If anybody has any questions, any concerns, any thoughts, feel free to comment in the chat. I see some of you leaning in. Maybe there's a question coming through. And know that now, day 11, as we begin our return, what we're really doing is we are starting the practice. And what I am referring to with starting the practice is to the core of what practice is, which is the act of remembering what it is that we chose, to focus on. Just like in meditation, if you're paying attention to your breath and you happen to wander off into thought, you remember, oh, I'm here paying attention to my breath. You return. It's the return that is the practice itself. And that's what we're beginning today. So with that being said, thank you everybody for being here, for seeing me. I see you too. Much love. Happy journaling. And I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye.